Football is coming home, or is it? That is the question we are asking today. Super Tommy Tuchel's men flawless in qualification, but is that enough? Have we seen this play out too many times before, or is it finally time that England will lift the World Cup? We're going to get into it today. Let's start with our perfect qualification. Reese, will come to you first. 0 goals conceded, 8 wins out of 8. Could it have gone any better for Tuchel?
The answer is no. No, it's been pretty much perfection. The only thing you would nitpick on is could they have scored more goals? But I think that's a pretty petty thing to pick out on this England side. As you said, it's 8 wins. Oh, sorry, 8 played, 8 wins, 22. 22 goals scored, none against. What more do you want? Harry Kane is the top scorer in the group, got double more than second place, which is one of the Albanian players, if I'm not mistaken. And Jordan Pickford hasn't conceded. So when you look at that, that's perfection. That's fantastic. That's exactly what this England team, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we've done this before, even under, much more, you'd argue, stronger sides. It's been consistent all the way out. You could argue, has it been exciting? Who cares? When you play exciting, you don't always win. And this England side is very well structured. It's very well balanced. Very, very impressive, actually. It's probably one of the best performances in a group stage I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, Jamie, what's your thoughts so far?
Look, I'm never going to be. I'm bored of international break. I can't wait for it to be over, and I think that every single time. But on the positive sort of side of it, winning 8 games and not conceding a single goal is, well, it's perfect. The only thing I would have liked is you match your goal difference to the points you got like that. That's how nitpicking you can sort of go with this. But the overall thing is, it doesn't really matter because look at the teams in our group. Like none of them are expected to go far in any of the tournaments that we get to because I think one of the other teams can sort of qualify still. But if I see any of them teams in the Euros, in the World Cup, I expect England to beat them. So yes, perfect. You can't ask for any more, but I don't. You don't want to get ahead of yourselves. Is my scene with it. If you played, say, a Spain in your group or some teams, of a higher quality, and you'd beat them without conceding a goal, like home and away, that's when you can start getting ahead of yourselves. So I think it's not a surprise. Yes, done absolutely perfect. Can't ask any more. But I don't know if we can get ahead of ourselves just yet.
Yeah, I think it's funny how quickly the narratives turn as well, because I think Tuchel's first few games were a bit shaky, and a little bit boring. I remember the Andorra, it was a 1-0 win against Andorra, which, you should be putting 5 past them. Then we lost to Senegal, but it was a friendly, so it didn't really matter. Then we only beat Andorra 2-0 after that. So I think that was the period where everyone was going, oh, is Tuchel just, you know, going to do the same as what Southgate did and just be boring? Um, but at the end of the day, as we said, you look at the league table and you can't really fault it. I think we'll get on to other teams in a moment, but the question now is, to your point, Jamie, like, yes, we can beat Albania and Serbia. Can we go and do it against a Spain, a France, a Germany? And we still don't know is the honest answer because we've not seen it.
I mean, that's the point, isn't it? I mean, look, I agree. There's no point getting carried away because we should be topping this group with maximum points. The reality is England has a population of 50 million on its own. Albania only has about 2 million. Serbia has about 6 million. Latvia has just under 2 million. Andorra doesn't even have a million. So we've got more people to choose from in a talent pool even than these four countries combined. So with the history of English football being, the home of football, the quality of players we've got, some of the teams these players play for, the trophies they've won, we should be topping this group, and the fact that we've done it without conceding is excellent, because Spain have scored less than us and not conceded either. But obviously obviously their group is probably a little bit tougher. So we can't get too carried away, but I would say we're in best shape I've seen us for a long time. That means that our egos can be a little bit better than what they have been. Because I was very critical under the Southgate regime of saying, yeah, like when we've played easy teams all the way, and that is true, including a German side that was very much in transition. So we've we've done well and we should lap that up. But I do agree is the quality hasn't, the quality of opposition's not been there. But I feel that beating these teams is a good way to set us in good stead. It allows Harry Kane to get momentum behind him, Jude Bellingham, Foden, etc., and Saka as well have been in fine form. So you might as well keep that up as we start to get towards the tougher games in the World Cup.
I think the good thing as well about the qualification is obviously the no goals is the nice kind of cherry in the top that makes it look good. But you look at the rotation of the squad as well, and I think so many players have featured. It's not like we've put out our best 11 every week and therefore dominated the group and not conceded. We have rotated basically every single game. You look at the team yesterday, we had Quansah playing right back, Byrne playing centre back, O'Reilly left back. Those are three players who we've not seen feature much for England. Adam Wharton in the middle, Bowen. As obviously, I'm saying good players here, don't get me wrong, but these are not players who have regularly played for England at all. So I think already I mean, it kind of just highlights the ridiculous depth we've got and how Tuchel's going to pick his final squad. I don't know. And there's always going to be some kickoffs and people crying about it just simply because of the depth. But it is an exciting time to be an England fan. I know we've said that for a long time, and maybe that's what we can talk about next. But at some point, something's got to give. And at some point, surely we've got to start, we've got to win something at some point, right? If uh, if Spurs can win a trophy, I mean, surely England can, right?
I wouldn't hold your breath on that because no, because sort of like you're saying with the Spurs one. I know you're joking and everything, but Spurs have an opportunity to win it every single year to win 4 or 5 cups. England have three now, but it's we mainly count two because we're not doing that well in the Nations League. Is we have two every sort of two coming up in 4 years. It's not a lot, so I wouldn't hold your breath saying surely something's got to give on it. But I think it's quite good that you mentioned squad because I think that could be the problem of England because you've got so much depth. You're trying out different things, but Tuchel, I don't think he should by now. But Tuchel won't know his best side. You can pick certain players who will definitely be there. You've got Kane up top, Pickford probably in goal, Gahey as sort of a centre back, and Rice in the middle. But I think the rest of the positions, maybe one or two I can't remember, but they're all up for grabs, and that can create a lot of positive in terms of competition. But sometimes you need a settled side, and I don't think England have that at all. And what is there one international break left before the World Cup, or two? It'll be a few friendlies before the tournament. So there's not that many games left, and I don't think he knows what his best 11 will be.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He absolutely doesn't. It's impossible really to know. And again, you've got positions where you can make the case for two or three players. I think, yeah, the ones you said I think are pretty fair. Like, yeah, Pickford, Rice, and Kane, basically. That's it. But you're right. If you're trying to please, I don't think Tuchel's a manager who will try and please. He will try and get the end result. And I think that's part of the reason we've got him in. He won't care that people are going, oh, you should play this player, you should play that player. But it is going to create a big narrative for the media, and it's hard to isolate players from that because Bellingham seems to be the new star boy now that everyone has got the PR because he's not associated with a Premier League club, so everyone can back him, and he's got that weird level of support where if he doesn't play now, it's going to be, oh, why is Bellingham not playing? There's other players, of course, who we've had that before, and Southgate saw that, like with Palmer, but there's less support when it's an English club because you've got all the rival fans going, no, he's rubbish, blah, blah, blah. But you look at a player like Bellingham, and based on what we've seen of Bellingham over the last year, is he guaranteed that number 10 role over Palmer? I don't know.
Well,
You've then got Foden who can also play there as well. Like it's a good problem, Eze as well. It's a good problem to have in a way, but I do think that could be our downfall where you've just got too much talent and it just gets a bit ridiculous.
this is the thing, isn't it? Is Tuchel's blessed with embarrassment of riches in his squad. I know we talk about the golden generation of the Skulls, the Gerald, but this is a different kind of generation, in my opinion. He's picking out a very good squad to, and I agree with you. One of the reasons Thomas Tuchel's there is because he will not care. He will pick at who he thinks is going to win him games. He is one of the best tactical minds in the game, so he will know what's best for him. He has taken no nonsense from Jude Bellingham, as we've seen. He didn't. Bellingham didn't seem too impressed to be going off the other day. Do you think Tuchel's lost sleep over it? No, he's not. No, he hasn't. He will pick what's best for the team and getting those results. And if that means dropping Bellingham, he probably will. Um, and he's right to do so. The dilemma you get as an England manager is the following: do you pick players based on their form, or do you pick players that are going to help you win the game? Because if not, the whole point is to be the pinnacle of your career, representing your country. And if you're working hard and doing well, but there's a player ahead of you because he does well in the England side, you're going to feel a bit gutted. But again, the benefit Tuchel has, all the players are doing very, very well, both at club and for country. So he can pick and choose how he likes, and he'll probably adapt to that. If he's playing not strong opposition, he'll rest players. If he's playing strong opposition, the better players will play. That's the best approach to take. And yeah, he's in a very good position to utilize all of that.
But I think just to sort of add to my point, I was saying like we have so many positions where we're not settled. So we could have so many different dynamics for a starting 11. Because you've mentioned Palmer there, Jordan. He's not been in the squads for the past two sort of international breaks because he's injured. Not saying he wouldn't be there if he was. Then Bellingham wasn't in one of them, and Foden wasn't in the last one, the one just gone, sorry, either. So there's a lot of who's in, who's out. O'Reilly got his first call up this time. Lewis Skelly didn't. It's a lot of in and outs, and I think that's a different approach to what Southgate had. Southgate would have brought in two, maybe three max in like a 20, 30 man, 25 man squad. Whereas Tuchel seems to be fine with just integrating loads of different players. I guess he is trying to find out what he wants from players. But if I'm not sure if I'm a centre back pair and I don't know who my left and right backs are between two different games, you don't get that fluidity because you don't have that. They're not playing week in, week out with each other. They're playing sort of, twice over 4 days, and they won't see each other for 5 or 6 months now until the sort of next international break, which is like March-ish time. I don't know exactly. So that could be a problem.
It could be, yeah, I agree with that tactically. I mean, I think that does happen. But I suppose the benefit of football now is it doesn't have those tribal instincts between players. You don't have that, "Oh, I'm not going to sit with him because he plays for Man United" nonsense. Piqué and Ramos were able to put their differences aside for the Spanish national team. This is different now. So you'd argue that a lot of these players probably talk to each other on a daily basis. They're probably in little group chats, having a laugh and a joke. So I can imagine the chemistry is a lot easier to find these days. But with a game that's so tactical and the way players have to be so robotic, it could be an issue later down the line. But I think certain positions are going to be he's going to pick whoever's playing the best in domestically for those roles. Lewis Skelly, for example, hasn't really been playing as of late or playing as well in comparison to O'Reilly has been. So that's how it's going to go. I think as long as you've got the spine of the team pretty set, it should be pretty easy to fill the rest of the gaps.
Yeah, I think the issue is like the chemistry element off pitch. I agree with. Like a lot of them are mates, they get on well. There's none of that old school beef, but on pitch chemistry is still an issue. To Jamie's point, like the centre back pairing, that is an issue. We've seen it like at Chelsea this season, right? Where we've rotated the centre backs basically every game and we can't defend. Like that's not a coincidence. And it's the case in attack as well. We've seen it before. We saw it under Southgate. We've got all the wealth of attack, but we can't create chances under Southgate. So I do genuinely think that is the real concern for England at the minute. Is you'll just chuck players on and just kind of hope they're fluid and they gel together. because they've got individual quality. But I don't know if that's enough when you look at some of the other teams.
I do agree with sort of Reese's point of saying you need the spine right, and I think England do pretty much have that when you say Pickford's going to be the goalie, Rice is going to be sort of CDM, CM, whatever position you want to put him in. He can do both. I mean, and Kane up front. But I think like what you're saying there, Jordan, as well with Chelsea, sort of like the centre back pairing. I know what I would pick, but I've seen, I know that we're not the ones picking, but I've seen countless of other accounts not even mention, because I would have Gay and Stones as my centre back pairing. And I've seen people talk about it, and they've mentioned like 4 players, and Stones that is not even mentioned. Then you've got other people who will pick, say, I don't know, they'll have Dan Burn, and I wouldn't even include him in that. That sort of like, I don't see him getting there. It's I think a problem in that such, because that's a critical position for me in terms of your spine of it. And then the other spine role is who's playing in that 10. Because you mentioned Palmer, you've got Bellingham, Foden, because Tuchel's come out and said Foden's going to play centrally if he plays. That's where he sees him. So that's another person in that position. Eze can play that position. I think Bowen would stick to the wings. He wouldn't really play there, but that's a lot of players for one spot. And that really, I think, does affect your spine. So that's the biggest problem I think England have. Overall, anyway.
Well, let's look now at other teams, because that is important context as well, right? We can say how good or bad England are, but at the end of the day, it's who we're up against. And it's been a mixed bag, because I think if you look at the fate, I don't know the odds, to be fair, I've not looked, but I would probably have Spain realistically as the bookies' favourites right now, just based on their form in pretty much since the Euros win. As you said, they've not conceded in the group. They've been, obviously they're top, but they've just looked unbelievable, to be honest. But when we get outside of Spain, I mean, there's not as much competition as we think. And I know it's that bit arrogant to say that when we've won absolutely nothing and we've consistently lost to these teams. But if we look at a France as an example, France should be among the bookies' favourites. But then you look at their form and you look at some of their performances, and they've not been great. They've been leaking goals. They've looked very, very shaky. I'm just trying to pull up some of their recent results. Like, what was it? What was the result? Iceland couldn't beat Iceland. Azerbaijan, yes, they beat the other day, but they were 1-0 down and they were struggling. Ukraine, they limped over the line against. So France are probably one of the big boys in terms of odds, but there's definitely weaknesses to exploit in them, as an example.
Just want to say the top 5 bookies at the moment is Spain first, then it's England and France joint, and then the next 2 are Brazil and then Argentina. So that's your top 5 currently, obviously.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So if we do start with the European focus, I would agree, other than Spain, we're probably the best team in it. The German team hasn't been the same for the last 4 or 5 years or so. So probably don't have to worry too much about them. Italy are all over the place, as we've seen. They might miss out on another World Cup, which is absolutely shambolic for them, considering they're, 4-time winners. I think France, you don't know what team are going to turn up. Many of us had them up to even win the Euros, and they didn't do that great. So I think Spain, France, when you do look at them, yeah, they've not lost in their qualifying. And you said that, they limped across a couple of games, but I think that's the difference with France, is if they go behind, they're going to claw it back. With England, we've not been in a position at the moment where we've been like, oh God, like, can they come back? Because we've not been there yet. So that would be a challenge for England in that regard. But I would agree Spain are the strongest. And when we faced Spain, of course, we couldn't beat them. So that says it all there. I think when you look across the continent, I know there's other continents involved in this, but it's obviously Europe and South America that are the strongest. If you look at Argentina as the holders, I've not been massively impressed with them. Yes, they're blowing their group away in the qualifiers. I mean, they're topped by quite a margin, if I'm not mistaken. It's about 7, 8 points or something like that. But they've lost 4 games. They hadn't lost to Brazil, but they lost to Uruguay at home. I know that's not no disrespect to Uruguay, but they've lost to Colombia. I think Paraguay beat them as well. So you can see that there's a bit of an issue. A bit of damage in the armor, as they say. So they're beatable. Brazil, what makes them good is they've got Carlo Ancelotti. If you want the man that can deliver in the big moments, it's him. It is him. However, they've lost 6 games in their qualifiers, which is very, very low. I know their group is all one big one, isn't it? And it's much more competitive that way. But they still lost 6 games. So I'm not too worried about Argentina and Paraguay. Paraguay. I'm worried about Paraguay because they beat Argentina, but I'm not too worried about Argentina and Brazil. Uruguay can probably turn up against anybody on their day, but they're just as capable as losing to anybody on their day. So there we go. I would argue that we're quite head and shoulders above a lot of sides, but it's those big moments that are going to matter. Those big, big moments. We know Messi will do it. We know Harry Kane can do it. But mentally wise, I think the other teams probably have those match winners if it came to it to nick it, which is the frustrating thing.
Yeah, the pressure as well. And also, just quickly on that stupid setup of their qualifying group, Bolivia are seventh, right? They've lost 10 matches. They've got a goal difference of -18, but they're going to be in the playoffs. They're currently in the playoff spot, which is just absolutely ridiculous. That needs to change.
I think I understand what you're saying with them losing games like Argentina and Brazil. Forget the whole how many qualify. Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous having more than half in the group qualify. Doesn't really sort of, add up well. But they're also playing the tougher games.
Yeah.
And sort of them, Argentina playing a Brazil, playing sort of teams who are in form, like doing well, like an Ecuador, Colombia and Uruguay. These are the tough games that England aren't playing. And they'll be more up to speed, know what to do when they're actually losing games, whereas England won't. In terms of sort of European ones, just quickly, yeah, Spain look very good. That one you go with, yeah, that's probably why they are favourites at the moment. France, I think you two, I understand you're sort of saying you've not been blown away by them, but if France played England tomorrow, let's say it's the World Cup, so in a neutral venue, I would back France over England to win. If we played Spain, I'd back them to win it as well. And then if you're talking about in a World Cup setting, I would back Brazil and I'd back Argentina to beat England. They've both got, you've got to remember, they've all got the pedigree of winning World Cups. And we talk about it in sort of club football, but it matters in international football as well. And I think that's what massively works in their favour. So I wouldn't. I know you're saying that none of them have been that impressive. I'd kind of argue that Argentina are sort of 8 points clear in that sort of competitive format. I think they are doing well, and they should probably be higher up in the odds. They should be higher than Brazil at least. So I think you shouldn't disregard them too much and say England are better than them, because I personally believe all of them would beat us in the World Cup. I know that's very negative for me to say,
No,
but
I agree.
that's my honest opinion.
No, I agree, because pedigree is a huge thing. And this is why I draw upon the fact that, if we played France, I think a lot of their players could dig them out of a hole than what ours could. I look at the French team at the moment. I think Michael Elise could do something for them, even Upamecano at the back or the Hernandez brothers. I think they could. And if it come to a penalty shootout, I'd probably expect Mike Maignan to probably save more than what Pickford might do. And of course, N'Golo Kante goes without saying, a player like him in midfield. I do agree with that. I do. I think if tactically we are much, much better than what we've been, I think if we went 1-0 up, we'd be very hard to break down. And I think, however, with us, I think if we went 1-0 behind to France, to Spain, to Brazil, to Argentina, we would probably struggle to actually go on to win the game.
don't know. On pedigree, I agree, and I back it in club football as well. But that is changing. This is an England side who have done better. Yes, there's no trophies to back it up, but they've done better than the golden generation. They're into finals rather than bottling it in the quarterfinals. You know, back-to-back finals, you can say yes, back-to-back losses, but you can also say that's more experience under the belt in big games. And if we had to pick a reason for both of those finals why we lost, who are we blaming? We're not blaming Saka for missing a pen. We're blaming Southgate for getting the tactics wrong. And that is what has changed.
I'd kind of disagree on that one. I blame the people who miss penalties, whether that's right or wrong. If you miss the penalties, you can't blame the manager when it comes down to penalties. The Spain game, different sort of matter. I kind of do agree.
Italy are terrible though. Like
Yeah,
we lost the game because we parked the bus and we sat back and we let Italy come back into the game. That's on Southgate. That's not on someone missing a penalty. Like that happens. That's football.
It's a mixture of everything. I know we don't need to dig into this today, but it is a mixture of everything. Southgate probably should have adapted changed things to avoid Italy scoring. But I agree that the players should have scored their penalties. The Italy players are able to do it, so we should have done. I think it's as simple as that. But I think it's also an example of when we have come to those key moments, we have lost because we have played easier teams along the way, and that is a fact. I think everyone gets a bit too carried away. I'll never forget seeing everyone jump up and down because we beat Germany. That Germany team were all over the place. They shouldn't have even got that far. You know, I mean, we beat Switzerland, who are a great side, and Slovakia, but it struggled to get there. Then we beat Netherlands in the final, which again, they're not what they were.
But is that not pedigree? To your point, is that not pedigree? A championship winning team is one who can play badly and still win games. We were
It is.
absolutely embarrassing at
Yeah,
the
but
Euro,
should
and yet we were in the
yes,
final when we were moments away. We were
I
that
agree.
close to winning it at probably 2 out of 10 for the whole tournament.
but I think what we're saying with pedigree is who did we actually play in that could beat us? Because it was Netherlands was probably the hardest team on paper until you got to the final against Spain. So everyone we played, and against Netherlands, I do expect us to win. It's never sort of. I think what Reece was trying to say. The teams that we beat, always ones we expect to beat, not ones that are this is going to be a tough game. We might not be favourites. We might just be favourites. Then they're the ones we lose. So like we've said, we've lost to a France, lost to a Spain. Okay, we like the ones we lost to that we probably shouldn't have was say Italy in the final and the Croatia one as well. But I don't. It's sort of like I don't see us going and beating a Spain in the semi-finals, for example. They're the type of
This
games I don't expect us to win, unfortunately.
this is the difference with England now is if we drew the Swiss, the Danes in the knockouts, I don't expect them to cause the problems that they did in the Euros. I expect us to be better than that and go through comfortably. Even if you win 1-0, I don't expect them to have many shots or even look like they're going to get a goal. We need to have a tough team in our group. That's the difference. I know in the past we've had easy groups and struggled to get out. We need a tough team. We need a team that's going to push to that edge as well to see where we are. Because if we play them once and they beat us, that's a question mark of, well, yes, regardless, you've qualified, but beating that team would have probably given you a bit of a psychological edge. That's going to be where it's going to be significant. We need one of the good teams to draw in our group in order
It
to
could
give
be.
us
It
a
doesn't,
competition.
and it doesn't have to be a Brazil and Argentina, for example. If we got a Uruguay, like to Reece's point, I agree. I think if we got like a Uruguay, an Ecuador, who are sort of very defensively sound, just looking at their sort of the qualifiers, there'd be good tests for us to have early on in the competition, where it's not actually detrimental if we lose, but it will tell us a lot about the team. Because I saw it when like Argentina won the World Cup. They did get beat. I think they lost to Saudi Arabia, didn't they? It's sort
Yeah.
of like I know that's not a tough competition, but I'm saying that's the time you want to play a tough team, see what you're about, but also learn from it and then progress on. So I think that would help England. You don't want three crap teams and then blitz through them and then everyone's going right. We should win the next game 4 or 5-0. and then everything slowly unwinds, going actually we're not as good as we thought because we've not actually been tested.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's answer the big question on that note. Obviously, it's very early, and yes, we'll do plenty of content in the build-up. But will England win the World Cup as of right now, as we see it? Uh,
I think
Jamie,
I
I think
should
we know your
start.
answer.
Yeah, considering I've just said we wouldn't beat four different teams, I'm going to have to go with no.
What if
But
we get a good run?
no. But I wouldn't be surprised if we were in the semi-final because other teams will play other big teams. So I think we can still go to say a semi-final, even get to a final. But like I said today, if we had to play any of them four teams I mentioned, I don't see us doing it. So that's why I'm going to say no.
Mm. Here comes another long-winded answer to a simple yes or no question. Tactically, we're the best I've ever seen from England. Organised, structured, players of quality all over the pitch who play well with each other and are all capable of contributing to the success of England. And the depth is also, just as very good. Um, I think we need to see, not in a friendly, but in a proper game against a tough team to see how we're going to cope. Because the pressure and the weight of the England shirt can get to you sometimes. I agree. I do agree with Jamie. I think when it comes to the crunch, we might just let ourselves down. However, Thomas Tuchel has won the Champions League when he hasn't been fancied, and he won it with real class, in my opinion. So he's capable of doing it, and I think it's probably our best chance to win it because a lot of teams that are in transition now are not going to be in transition in the next 2, 3 years. So I'm going to say no, but I think we're better than, like I said, most teams in there.
Yeah, I think we'll be in the mix to give a slightly longer winning prediction. I think we'll come close in the World Cup. I think we'll then actually win the Euros because we've had a bit of time under Tuchel. I think he'll stay. And then I think from then on, we'll start to see a few more trophies in the cabinet. Um, so yeah, I think I believe in Tuchel. Obviously, I've seen what he can do in the tournament fashion. Um, but I think he does need a bit of time to find his best level, and it's not going to happen this quickly.
I've sadly seen it as well.
Exactly. You got to have faith.
I've sadly seen it as well being there.
But that is the point though. On his day, that is why Tuchel's in, right? German manager, everyone was kicking off. I don't get why it's ridiculous, but at the end of the day, he's tactically elite and he's good in tournaments. That's what Southgate wasn't. So we've leveled up, in my opinion, either way. So I think there's plenty of optimism. I know we've all just said we're not going to win it, but I think there's enough optimism. It's coming home. That's all we got time for. As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe England will win it at this stage? I know it's very early, but as always, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.